to get us started. We are now recording. I'll send a copy of this to you, Barry, for dissemination later today after it downloads. And then you can do what you want with it. And welcome, everybody. If you are not muted, if you would mute, I'll probably end up force muting everybody and then unmuting everybody as I go through the presentation. But just in case, if you're at a spot that you are watching this and you're not talking, it's always just a good idea to be muted because you never know when your dogs or anything's going to go wacky. So my name's Dan Smith. For those of you who have not been on in previous weeks, this is the third of a series we're doing. We covered how to get back to work and get your mindset right. We called it get out of those sweats and get back to work. We covered how to do listing appointments when you couldn't actually physically go on listing appointments. Sounds like you guys are going to be able to go out again normally here real soon. But you know what? There's a lot of people are saying this is going to come back again next January, February. So it's good stuff to know. With that, we're going to be talking today about how to host virtual events. Now, you guys might be able to go out and do your own events in 2 to 3 weeks, it sounds like, pretty well. But we don't know if there's going to be a little bit of a relapse, that they end up having to lock back down. I'm sure you've heard on the news that that's a possibility. We don't know if this thing is going to come back in January and February and kind of bite us again. That's a possibility. So these are some very good things to learn and know just in case. And then there's what I call the new norm. When I refer to how it used to be, I'm going to call that like January. January, things were normal. And then and the now is just the now. It's kind of lockdown mode. And then I'm going to call July 100% back to everything being how it was, for the time being. That's going to be when I go through today our examples. But even when July, August roll around, there's still some stuff here that we can utilize and do a good job with and begin to put into our business that we would have never done in our business back in January. So those are the kind of things we're going to get into today, is what to do when you need to keep in contact with people. When you need to keep in contact with people, and when you can't do it face-to-face. You guys and gals might still run into some people with an autoimmune disease. They're still playing it safe. Even though you're allowed to go out, maybe even though people are allowed to go to the gyms, they might not still feel comfortable with that. And so it's just a good tool for all of us to have and learn, because odds are we're going to need it again in life now, in this world we find ourselves in. And you've all become way more techie and you've gotten used to so much more of this stuff than you used to do face-to-face or belly-to-belly. Talking to people, you've all gotten to be Zoom pros. I know I've seen Lee on here all 3 weeks, and she's always mixing up her virtual backdrop there. Today, she's going to go out and swim some laps as soon as she's done watching, apparently. So she's going to go out and pull a Michael Phelps or something. But you guys have gotten really good. Some of you have figured out the mute button. Some of you still haven't quite figured out where the mute button is, but that's okay. You got a couple weeks left of this thing, it looks like. So we're going to get into it. One, if I do freeze, I told you guys in the very beginning, I will unfreeze after 16 seconds, so don't go away, don't worry. Two, there is a chat bar down there. I will do my best to keep up with the chat bar if you guys are asking questions and you don't unmute, or if I have you force muted, just go ahead and ask your questions there. But also know about every 5, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, right in that range, after I do topic to topic to topic, kind of got a list of topics. Then I'm going to unmute you guys so you can all ask questions, but just for the purpose of everybody being able to listen and not worry about noise, I'll be muting and unmuting you guys as a group from this point forward probably. Also, those of you who haven't been on yet, I don't want you thinking that there is some pitch coming. There is no product, no tapes, no series, no books, no coaching, no nothing for you to buy or be sold. So this is just pure content. I don't even really have your information. You'll never get an email from me again in your entire life. If you want me, you're going to have to reach out to me. I am available for questions. Like if you need a whole question, like, hey, would you tell me how to do a list? That's too long of a question. Like here's a whole listing presentation. But if you're like, give me an idea on this, shoot me an email. And I am pretty good at responding to those within a day or two. Email address is dan@bydansmith.com. Dan@by, like B-Y, dansmith.com, the author, by, not B-U-I. You can find me all over social media at by Dan Smith, BYDANSMITH. So you won't be sold anything. If you haven't been on these before, don't worry about that. If you have been on here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's content, and then I send you out on your way to go implement and execute and have a fantastic, powerful, productive, and profitable day. Okay, so we all have different state, county, city rules that we have to follow. Sounds like your guys's for the state might be being lifted real soon, which is fantastic. You can get back to the gym. You can start going out to eat a little bit. There's probably going to be some social distancing guidelines. You won't be surprised if you see less tables in a restaurant, that sort of thing. But things are changing. You've been essential, so you've been able to go out, I know, in Georgia, so long as you followed certain rules and kept your distance and only had so many people showing at a time. You guys have been doing that. I get that. But in this virtual world for the last month, how have you stayed in front of your people, right? Who on this call, and I can see a couple of you, and I'm going to find that mute button now. I forgot to do that. Boop-a-doop, participants, mute all, continue. All right, you're all muted, but I can see you. So show of hands. How many people who I can see, and I'll just switch screen to screen, work like a geographic farm area, like a specific little area that you focus. You either mail them or knock them or spend time in them. Go ahead and raise your hands if any of you do that. 1, 2, just about half of that screen, and this other screen is all pictures, no videos. All right, so just about half of you, it sounds like. So I'm gonna say about half of this thing. All right, so let's see, you couldn't go out and knock your farm, agreed? And you couldn't go out and door drop your farm, like leave your materials at the doors. You could, but you probably get yelled at. And you couldn't do any open houses in your farm. So what could you do? What were we doing to stay present to these people? What were we doing to stay in front of them? And so that's the intention of these virtual events. What kind of virtual events could we use to stay focused? What if we were to go back into another 2-month lockdown? What if it were to last another month? What if it comes back in January? What are we going to do for a month to 6 weeks to 8 weeks if we have to stay in front of these people? Because we can't just abandon them. We can't just be like, well, I guess I'll call them once, over a 2-month period of time. And you can't call them every day because that's just really annoying. Okay. And there's probably too many of them as well. And you don't have all their information anyway. So what can we do to stay in front of them? We can do virtual events. So let me explain to you by virtual, that is interaction. That's not video. We're on video, but we're interacting on video. And so the number one thing that people think of when they think of doing a virtual event is they think of virtual open houses. Right? That's the very first thing that people, real estate agents at least, think of. When you say, let's do a virtual event, I think the general public thinks about a happy hour, right? And I think real estate agents think about either a happy hour or an open house. So who on here has held a virtual open house in the last couple of weeks, since that's been the mode of open houses? So this is a really interesting tool, especially for those of us who are still locked down for another month or plus. Virtual open house does not mean video open house. Does not mean I'm going to put up a Matterport. I'm going to put up a thing that my photographer, videographer put around where they walk you through the house and you click the buttons. That's just a video. That's not interaction. So although in the old world, January, we referred to it as virtual tour. In today's world, virtual means we're actually doing it together virtually. So, and a way to do a virtual open house, imagine, Lee, you're in the center of my screen right now, so I'll use you as my you always end up in the center of my screen for some reason. I'll use you as my example here. Lee decides that she wants to hold an open house. And so she's going to host a virtual open house, even though no one's allowed to leave their houses. Check this out. So how is she going to do that? So she's going to go to the house that she's holding open. Vacant homes really work well for this, guys and gals, because we can no longer, like in real life, when we want to do an open house on a Saturday, send our sellers out to shop, eat, or to park, or do something else because, well, they can't really do any of those things. So it's really, we need to find vacant homes to hold these open houses at. And during real life in January, we were really doing most of our open houses on Saturday and Sunday. But we can do open houses now Monday through Sunday because, well, everyone's locked in. We did them on the weekends because that's when people weren't working. Well, that seems to be the case with a lot of people all the time right now. So we have the flexibility to do them on other days. We have the flexibility to do them way more often. So Lee decided she's going to hold an open house on, let's just pretend, Wednesday. And she's going to hold it from 12 to 1. We are recommending people do shorter open houses. Now, if you have a free Zoom account, you can do an open house from 12 till 12:40 because you only get 40 minutes of time on a Zoom for free. There's that new Microsoft Teams thing that has come out, and I have not had a chance to explore it. I've actually been using Zoom for about 2 years, so it was a rather easy transition for me, and I already understood a lot of the tech. But there's a lot of other options besides Zoom, but I'm just going to use Zoom in our example right now. All right. So if you have a free Zoom account, which you should all go get because it's, free, you can do 40 minutes. If you pay the whopping $15 a month, the whopping amount of $15 a month, and it's a month-to-month contract, no long-term contracts, then you can have a 24-hour open house. Too long. Don't stay there that long. You'll get like brain dead. You'll start saying stuff. They'll sound like me pretty soon. So you don't do a 24-hour open house, but you could do an hour or an hour and a half that way. If you pay the $15 a month, you guys get released. You cancel your membership in June, back to normal, whatever. All right. So Lee's going to go to the actual vacant house. She's going to go inside. You don't need to put up open house signs. No playing Frogger, right, in the roads, putting up your open house signs in real life and risk getting hit by cars. You're just going to drive to the house, right? And you're going to get out and go in, and then you're going to lock the door behind you so that nobody else can randomly somehow see it online and decide that they want to come visit you in person, because that'll get everybody in trouble. So you lock the door behind you, and now you're set up in the house, and you're ready to do the open house, and you log on to Zoom, and you're the only person there for a little bit, but then other people will join. We'll talk about how that happens. And you walk them through the house. You just keep circling. And so if somebody comes in the beginning, you talk to them, you chit chat, you start walking them through the house. Somebody else comes in by the time you get to the master bedroom, let's say. You let them know, hey, welcome. You can see that they came on because their head popped up, right? Welcome. We're in the master bedroom right now. I'm going to keep finishing the circuit. And don't worry, I'll go back around and hit what you've already missed. So people will come in and out at different times while you're kind of doing your tour, okay? And because you're doing this on Zoom instead of Facebook Live, for instance, you're able to talk to them. They can ask you questions. They can say, can you go back and show me that again? There's a lot of interaction. You can do it on something like Facebook Live, but the problem is you're not really sharing video with everybody. You're trying to keep up with the chats, and the chats have a lag. And so it's a little bit more difficult. It would work, but I just don't think it works as well because we don't get the actual communication like you would have on a true video back and forth. Now, who would walk around an open house with a desktop? Nobody. So some of you might walk around with a laptop. Okay, but we found that walking around with your tablet or your phone is best. So as you're walking around the house, and doing an open house, you want to do it on your mobile device because it's so much easier to carry and show and communicate. So while I usually suggest doing them on a desktop platform, Zooms, like most of you are right now, for open houses, we found that mobile is best. All right, so now you show them through the house, you've done a couple loops, voila, this is fantastic. You've made some interactions, you've met some people, you've got some contact information, they've told you what they want. You're going to start looking for them. This is the perfect scenario that I've laid out, everybody, right? Check it out. Not that easy. But that's what we're trying to accomplish, okay? That's what we're trying to actually make happen. And then when the time ends, you say, thank you, everybody. The next time I'll be doing an open house will be, who knows, a Friday at 1, from 1 till 2, and it's going to be on a property over on in blank city on X street, this big, so you can kind of promote it to the people who are on. But then open house ends and you're done. Well, see, that all sounds perfect. But obviously the question is, how the heck do I get people there, Dan? I might be able to figure out how to schedule a meeting. I might be able to figure out how to host a meeting. I might be able to figure out how to use the phone and walk people around the house. But how the heck do I get people there? Anybody with me on this, struggling with this question? So I'm going to go through this part, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. Barry, I'm going to unmute you right now. I've just got a question. I know you don't probably control this. I'm sure you've got some tech part of your association that does control it. But have your rules been changed? Like, we're part of, around here, it might be the Orange County Association of Realtors, but then CRMLS controls like the website component, if you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They've changed the rules that currently allow real estate agents here to put links and to do stuff in the comments, since they can't drive real traffic. Is your computer MLS system allowing that, or you guys' rules stay the exact same?
As an association, we have stayed exactly the same.
Okay.
We don't have our own MLS. There's a couple of large MLSs in Georgia that we rely on, so we don't have to manage that.
Yeah, same thing here. There's a couple large ones. And so the large ones have started allowing some things. And so the local associations, just like, oh, whatever they're allowing, that's the rule right now. Mm-hmm. So in most of California, that rule is they've added a virtual tour section to their MLS for open houses. So virtual open houses is a section that got added here. So I'm not sure if you guys added that or not, but that would be, if you're going to do a virtual open house rather than a regular open house, you'd obviously want to include it there, or even in the open house section, if you could throw the link in. Then you guys are not New York, so you're like the rest of the United States in this respect. You have Zillow, for instance, right? Zillow is allowing agents to go in and edit the comments on Zillow, which they normally don't allow you to do this, and throwing in your links right there in the comments section. So you know how when you put something on the MLS, it kind of forces through to Zillow? Zillow is allowing you to go into Zillow itself, not the MLS, but Zillow itself, and change the text. So you can add a sentence that says, for instance, virtual open house to be held on Wednesday, the, whatever it is, 22nd of April from 12 to 1, click this link, right? So you can drive traffic through Zillow. Now, they're the only third-party site that I know of that's allowing you guys to edit that, but it is a, people do tend to go there, like them or hate them. It is a very used site. And so it's really neat that they're allowing us to right now temporarily change that verbiage to include a link. As soon as things are lifted, that right will probably go away. But right now it is a tool that they've made available. So you can market it that way. Who here is on Facebook or Instagram, right? If you didn't raise your hand, I'm very concerned. So you might not like it, but you should still be utilizing all of the cool tech that it has. You can put a post on Facebook, for instance, on your business page, and then you can boost that post. You can boost that post for $1 a day. For $1 a day, you'll get somewhere between 175 and 350 views. For $2, just do the math, you double it. So you don't have to like boost. This isn't a big budget item. This is a budget item where you $2-3 a day for 2 or 3 days, $3 to $6 a week, maybe, and you're getting 700 to 1,000 people finding out about your virtual open house. If you do it on Facebook, it'll always ask you the question, do you also want to run this promotion on your Instagram? And you can run them on both. You don't have to double the money. It just splits that dollar up, 50 cents each, really. Now, if you start running those kind of sponsored ad boosted post content on Facebook, and let's just call it a 25-mile radius around the subject property, there's going to be a lot of people who see that, who might be thinking about moving into that area, right? It's probably a good investment in $1 or $2 to get that many people to know about it and to be able to get out there. And everyone's really interested. What is a virtual open house? I want to go to one. Let's check it out. They literally have nothing else to do. So it's so much fun to put something on the calendar. All right. There is actually a comment here. It's a couple comments. I want to read them real quick. Because it is, and somebody has done a couple of virtual open houses. They've added that section here too. Awesome. So you do have that section available to you guys. And And make sure you find the instructions for adding to Zillow, the hashtag required to preserve your tour MLL. Yep, perfect. So thank you for sharing that. Everybody make sure you read the comments as I'm going through here. He's right. There's a little bit of a Zillow workaround, but you can still do it. Who here uses Nextdoor? Who here is ever on Nextdoor? Right? So you guys are on Nextdoor. And hang on real quick, please. I'm going to hit mute. That was me telling household to be quiet. All right. So real life, working at home. Nextdoor. You guys have Nextdoor in Georgia, right? Yes? Like the app? You guys, somebody nod. Okay, good. Everyone's looking at me like, what the? Good, you have Nextdoor. So you can go put that. Now, Nextdoor, typically, if you put up real estate stuff, everybody yells at you. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but if you throw something up there that's real estate related normally, everybody yells at you. But what we've learned is if you frame it correctly right now, people are a lot more forgiving and being like, hey, everybody, I've never talked about real estate on here, and I probably never will again, but this is something new, and I believe everyone's at home, maybe bored, wants to see the new norm. There's a virtual open house coming up on Wednesday at blank, between blank. Here's the link if you're interested. And you're really, and the mods don't seem to be taking them down. Every once in a while they do, but usually they don't. And no one's yelling at you. They're like, you know what? I hate real estate people talk about real estate on here normally, but thanks for sharing that. Like that's the kind of response we're getting right now on Nextdoor. And then there is, who here uses Linktree? Anybody use Linktree? Perfect. So Linktree is a really cool Instagram tool. It's intended originally for Instagram, but you can use it outside of Instagram too. Because if you've ever seen a Zoom link, it makes no sense, right? It's one of those, it's the hardest thing in the world to type in. It's like HQ, capital M, lowercase d, underscore. It's like, how is anybody going to type that? So what you can do is you can get a free Linktree account, everybody. Linktree is linktr.ee. You go get a free Linktree account. And now that will let you host as many different pages as you want. Like you can host 20, 30, 40 different things all on there. So you can put virtual open house on Tuesday. That's all it'll say. And when they click that, it automatically sends them to the link that you assigned to it. It's like hyperlinks for dummies, right? So for those of us who can't code and don't know how to do it, it like takes care of that for us. So if you're on Instagram, if you're doing something, you can push people just to a very easy site. My site is linktree/by-Dan-Smith, right? And that way they can just go there and click on a very easy button rather than having to type in some ridiculous code, okay? And you can use that in all areas. It was originally made for Instagram, instead of in your bio only being able to have one link, to have many, but now people use it in a variety of ways on different platforms. Here's how some people are doing it here in California. What they started is they had custom open house signs made. You know how open house signs typically say open house and have an arrow in them, and the open house is in the words or in the actual arrow, it's directional. And then it might have your logo or whatever. Well, and that's pretty much it, right? You put a gang of these out on all corners, slowly but surely pointing people in left and right to get to the said house. So what some people are doing is they're taking these signs, they had some custom signs made that say virtual open house today. No direction, just a banner. And then really big, there's a link. All right. And it's like a Linktree link. So it would be, for instance, Linktree/Barry, if that was available. I don't know if it is or not, but it could be. So very, very simple. And they can put it on the sign. They use that same one in their Facebook. They use that same one in their Instagram. They use that same one in their Nextdoor, every place they have that same one. And then they actually put a bunch of the signs up in the neighborhood like they normally would, so that neighbors and people who normally would, who are out, everyone's out walking their dogs right now, people. They're still seeing signs, as it turns out. We'll see it, and it'll say open house today. There's the link, and they've chosen a time to have an open house so that they have to get all these different custom signs printed. And so it might say 1 to 2 p.m. So they have to make a commitment that morning to go throw out a bunch of these signs. So it doesn't say where it's at, doesn't say the house. So the sign works on every single house, every single day, so long as you're doing it from 1 to 2 on each time you want to do this. You go out on a Tuesday morning at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, you put all these signs up, and then at 1 o'clock, you go on. You've also marketed on Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram, and that's a combination way we found that people are driving traffic to these virtual open houses. When it's done, you go pick up your signs the next day, or whenever you're going to do it again, you go put new ones up, right? So a little bit of old school with a little bit of new school is how they are driving traffic to these. So just a couple of ideas. Word of mouth, obviously too. So I'm going to unmute everybody. Unmute all. Okay, everybody's unmuted. So if you're in a loud spot, go ahead and remute yourself if you want to. Questions about everything that I just went over regarding promoting it or the idea behind it. Let's leave it. I got other stuff we're going to get into, right? But this will be the end of open houses. I'm going to get into other events. So anything open house related, this is your chance. Let's talk about it. Let me answer your questions.
I've used Nextdoor as a sponsor, and I've had pretty good results with, you know, from a real estate point of view. So I'm going to try that as one of the ways I promote my open house.
And if you're a sponsor, you get a little bit more love, and there's other ways for you to do it other than just ninjaing in as a homeowner, right? So that'll be a definite way that'll give, if you are a Nextdoor sponsoring person, then you have flexibility in what your messaging you're putting out there. So that'll work really well for you.
Dan, this is Vita. How are you?
I'm good, Vita.
So you were talking about the Zoom as opposed to Facebook Live, but you know how on Zoom you could put it on Facebook? Would you, as a Facebook Live through Zoom? Are we saying to do that or
definitely,
no?
Definitely. But you're hosting it through, yes, definitely, if you can combine the two. But some people are just using Facebook itself, just Facebook Live, and that's it. And I think that standalone isn't as powerful as a Zoom standalone. And a Zoom standalone isn't as powerful as a combo package.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Because it's easier to drive. It's very easy to drive traffic through your Facebook Live, which is what's appealing about it. Because everybody who's likes you or follows you or is friends with you automatically gets it, right? So it's like you don't even have to promote it. Just boom, it starts flashing on their screen. So that's what's really great about it. And so because it's easy, people are like, I'm just going to do a Facebook Live and skip the Zoom thing. But the problem is you lose the interaction component somewhat. So that's why I suggest Zoom. But yes, if you can do a combo, then yeah, that's like bells and whistles. It's perfect. Let me see. There's a couple questions on here, I think. Let me get to the people who that's making sure you do it right. He likes the recording. Does it transfer to the new open house when you have one? No, it doesn't. It does, but it's convoluted. So I'm gonna say it doesn't transfer to the new open house. The link. See, the link is Linktree/by Dan Smith. Let me open it up so you can see it. And when they get into that, I'm going to open up my Linktree so you can see what I'm talking about. When they get into the Linktree, they have choices. Look at all those different choices. And if they click on those tabs, they go to websites that I have assigned to them, right? You can have look at this. You can have as many as, I have a lot of links going on, as you can see. So it doesn't, the link will always be the same. That's why the signs can always be the same. Because it'll always be Linktree/by Dan Smith or Linktree/Veda. But the innards, next time you put it in, open house on Wednesday, you'll put a new link that goes with it. Open house on Thursday, you'll put a new link that goes with it. There is a way to make it the same, but I don't want to overcomplicate it. So you can go both. You can make it the same too. The problem with the same is people might think they're jumping on one and jump on the wrong one. So I like having each one be independent. Signed up for Linktree. Good job, Amber. Free 99, everybody. That's my favorite price. All right, so free 99. That's how much Linktree costs. Same as your free Zoom account. So you should definitely go and get those. All right, any other questions about open houses or some of the tech we talked about before we move on? I know you guys are having some really cool, I know Lee Brown, I think, is doing some stuff for some of you who are watching. I know you have some other great speakers. I know some people are doing it a little bit more sophisticated than I do. I try to leave that to them. I just want to be here and rap with you guys, answer your questions, just be pretty interactive about it. I'm not using the webinar view so that I can come back and forth with everybody. So hopefully you guys like this format. This is how I've been doing it, and I really like it. And I think it's fun. But then again, you guys should talk if you have questions. All right, so no questions. Last call. 3, 2, 1. Anybody? I'm going to move on to the next topic. Sweet. Here we go. I'm going to remute everybody. All right, we got everybody muted. So open houses are great. And like I said, open houses are one of the two things that we naturally think of when we think of virtual events. The second one is happy hours. All right. Second one is happy hours. After this whole thing is over, there's going to be a lot of babies in 9 months. There's going to be a lot of divorces at the divorce court as soon as they open. And there's going to be a lot of people signing up for AA meetings because all we're doing is drinking, right? Like we can't figure out what else to do on Zoom except consume alcohol, it seems like. So check this out. There are other things to do besides having happy hours. So what I like calling them actually is hangouts. Let me tell you why. A happy hour seems like you probably shouldn't bring your family to the event. All right. That's it's not a family oriented activity, right? At least here in California, it's not. So a hangout, that's more family oriented, right? Or a block party, more family. A happy hour, just for drinking. A hangout, just for hanging out. Right. So I'm really we're trying to call them hangouts or block parties. And let me tell you the difference. We kind of think a hangout is for a demographic, right? A demographic group of people. Might be, Crystal, I'm going to unmute you. What's your hobby? Like a hobby other than real estate. And you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I did.
There you
go. I'm a big hustler. I just like to find ways to make extra money. So a hobby for me is hosting yard sales, going around my house, getting stuff that I don't want to just donate. I want to make a buck on.
Perfect. All right. Good example. Thank you. All right. So an example for her as a demographic would be maybe she knows other people who do yard sales. Maybe she belongs to some sort of Facebook group that does yard sales. Right. Do you, in fact, belong to, there's other people that you know?
Oh yeah, I do Facebook
totally, right?
Marketplace, ETOP, yard sales. There's Kennesaw yard sales. There's all kinds of places that you can post it online.
And you probably talk to
certain people. Let Go apps. So I do it both virtually and in person.
There you go. Right. So there's all these people that meet a demographic. Some of you might have kids who play soccer. Right? You might know a lot of parents whose kids also play soccer. That'd be a demographic. Some of you might have high schoolers that are in band. And so there's a demographic. So a demographic is like a hangout. You invite a bunch of people who are like-minded to hang out and do more than just drink alcohol, potentially. While a geographic, that's kind of like a block party. So we have some people here in California who have farms, and I know about half the people on this seems like you guys have farms. And what they're doing is they're going block by block every Monday, Friday, Monday, Friday, Monday, Friday. So in 3 weeks, they hit, let's just call it 6 blocks in a farm, like whole street sections, right? And they're inviting everybody in those sections in the farm to come to a block party. Now, do other people besides you work in your farm? Does more than one agent traditionally trying to capture market share in a farm? If you're the only person who ever goes to your farm, you're really, really lucky. All right. But most of us, there's somebody else who's trying, and there's somebody who's dominant, and there's somebody who's trying to break in, and there's a bunch of people in the middle. That's the normal way that these geographic farms work, these areas, right? What do you think your competition's doing right now? Let me tell you what they're not doing. They're not knocking them. They're not hosting open houses there. They're not even going out and littering their home with door drops. They might be mailing them, but from the stat that I read yesterday, Most people who were mailing have laid off right now because the Postal Service is in trouble because so many people who were using EDDM and were advertising via mail have stopped during all of this. So the people who you're competing against are probably doing close to nothing. What if you were each week to be the person who put together this event for everybody to meet? Would that make you memorable? Now, is it going to get you a listing this week, next week? Probably not. But I'm not really worried about the next month. I'm worried about the next 10 years. And if you can get yourself present, if you can get yourself being the go-to person, if you can start to put people on this side of the street together with people on this end of the street who've never met, if you can be the person who hosted something that was more than just a happy hour, and you start putting the neighborhood together cohesively, you will become a very important person to that neighborhood. You will be remembered in that neighborhood. And then you do it time after time after time, more after more after more. Wow, how have you separated yourself from the pack? Now, it can be themed, right? Some people are, hey, let's do a block party. Let's have the theme be sports. Invite the whole family, right? Not just, now, how do you market it? What do you think? We've already talked about that. Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor. They won't even jam you up on Nextdoor at all for this one. No one will complain like one lick, even if you are a real estate agent. Signs, that's a bit much, probably because you're doing these pretty short term. But you can still promote it online. And then if you're in that farm and you're working that farm, you probably have a phone number or two, an email or two. You can reach out to the ones you have on that block and then tell them to invite the rest of their neighbors and then to invite the rest of their neighbors and then to invite the rest of their neighbors. So you can actually get some traction there. And if you do that and invite, let's have it everybody wear their favorite sports outfit, right? You guys are going to have lots of the G's going on down there probably, right? You guys are going to have lots of Hawks gear probably going on down there, but people can invite their stuff. Next one you do can be like, hey, let's make it a barbecue. Everybody be barbecuing something during the block party. Take your device out and have it running while you're barbecuing. And it just makes it fun and breaks up the monotony for people. And it's like, this is really cool. Why hasn't anybody else thought of this? This is so much cooler than just sitting around and having another beer, right? So you get to actually like engage people, bring ideas to them, bring them together, make it an actual event, not just a drinking session, an actual event where they're barbecuing, where they're, hey, let's have a contest with the kids, block party this week. Let's see who can throw this thing the farthest or who can run this thing the fastest. And you guys take turns, and each of the people who are with it with their kids are videoing them running down the street. And the next one is videoing running down the street, right? And you can have an official person doing a stopwatch or whatever, even if it's not a contest. But it's something that you guys are doing that's interactive, that they thank you for breaking up the monotony of their day. And is your competition around? No, you are the only one who's providing something to them. And we are not talking about real estate at all. We're not mentioning real estate. It doesn't have to be like, hey, run that race and think of me when you want to sell. That's like really super cheesy, right? So that's not the deal. What we are thinking, what we're trying to do is just let them know that we were a person here for them in their time of need, because when this is all over, and now we reach out to them to talk about real estate, like we would a normal farm, they remember us. They know who we are. They're less likely to hang up the phone, shut the door in our face, or not pay attention to us, because we were somebody who provided value to them while this was all going on. What about birthdays? Right? You guys all, for those of you who use Facebook, you know Facebook has this phenomenal tool for telling you whose birthdays are today and whose birthdays are even coming up, so you can plan ahead. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go Google how to find out birthdays on Facebook. Super, super simple. And so what if you were on every Friday to lay out next week's potential birthday parties? Now, this would be not a geographic area. This would be a demographic. The demographic is people who are having birthdays, right? And what if you were to host a virtual birthday party for them just out of the blue, being like, hey, Crystal, I know your birthday is next Tuesday. I'd like to host a virtual birthday party for you for just a couple of minutes. How does that sound? Chris was like, yeah, because no one's doing, they're doing two things for my birthday, Jack and nothing. I love that. At least they're doing something for my birthday now, right? So you could host virtual birthday parties for that demographic. There's other events you could do. A lot of us right now have kids who are really sweating if they're going to graduate from high school. A lot of us have kids who are in sports and really bummed because their entire spring season has been canceled and they don't get to compete in the sports now. What if you did some sort of an event for the kids who are playing soccer or the tennis team, that they could all get together and do something, had some sort of a contest? There's all kinds of different demographic and geographic events you can host if you really put your mind to it. So what I encourage you to do is sit down and make a list. Okay, what does my world look like? My kids, what do they do? My hobbies, what do I do? When I'm not selling real estate, what do I do? What does my husband, wife, partner, spouse, whatever do? Like, make a list of all the different demographic groups that you belong to, can be involved in, and then figure out a way to start breaking into that group a little bit more than you ever have. Start being a leader of those like-minded people. I'm telling you, it's not going to pay off in April. It is going to pay off for the rest of your career when things get back to the new normal and you are able to start talking about real estate. They won't mind it as much. They won't blow you off because you were of value to them. Okay, last one. Then we're going to do some more questions. Holidays. We just had Easter. Who did Easter events virtually online? Who held virtual Easter egg hunts? Who, right? Really cool. So Easter was one. But you know what's coming up? Mother's Day. Now, you guys sound like you might be unlocked by then. So yay for you. But us moms, I'm not a mom. Those moms in California are going to not be able to go to a Mother's Day brunch. They are not going to be able to go do anything for Mother's Day. And they're still probably going to be locked in. So what about hosting a Mother's Day champagne brunch or Mother's Day tea for your database, people in your database who you know who to reach out to? This one's a little, maybe it's a little weirder for strangers. Maybe you've met some people in the block parties and the other things you've done. You've developed a database of moms, inviting them to come to a Zoom that'll be for 20 to 30 minutes that day. These don't have to be like long, Gilligan's Island 3-hour tour ordeals, everybody. They can just be short and concise, 30-minute Mother's Day champagne brunch. And you get 20, 30 people who say, yes, I'd love it. That sounds so great. What if you were then to order off of Bevmo, those little champagne flutes, which last I looked when we were doing this were $3.49. And what if you were to deliver those champagne flutes with a little note saying, here's champagne for our champagne brunch on Tuesday. And what if you were to drop those on everyone's doorsteps? And this is so much fun, by the way, guys. Like, we've actually been doing this. Total side note, squirrel, but same kind of theory. Hold on. This is a note. So my wife's a broker, right? So this is a note. You've been egged and teepeed by Melody and Associates. And then this goes with it. And then like and basically this sits in front of an egg carton. This sits on an egg carton. And then a roll of toilet paper sits on the egg carton. And it all fits really nicely into a picture for posting on social media. And we leave this at people's doors, right? And it's so much fun because what you get to do is like what you want to do when you were a kid. You go to the door, all top secret. If they have a ring, you're getting low so it doesn't show up on their ring, right? And then you put all that, the eggs, it's a carton of eggs, a dozen eggs, a roll of toilet paper, the note, and that, you take a picture of it, and then you go to their door and you knock, and just like a kid, like when you're pranking people, and you run away, and you run and get in your car and try to drive off before they get to the door. It's just like the whole ding dong dash knock thing, right? But it's so cool, and people love it, and then they're reposting all of this on social media and tagging us on it, so it's growing virally, right? So what if you were to go out to the house, leave a little note for your champagne brunch, leave the champagne bottle, give a knock, and get out of there. Now, you don't have to run away because it's not the TP and egg theory, but as you're walking away, they come out, they see you, you wave, you say enjoy. What if you were to deliver that, and if you don't want to do champagne, you're like, I don't want to buy that many bottles of champagne, Dan. Great, buy a tea bag, right? You can buy like a lot of tea bags in a thing for like, $5. And in a Ziploc bag, you leave a tea bag with a note that says, for our Mother's Day tea next Tuesday. So that's an example of a holiday coming up, right? That we can provide a value to people virtually if we had to. All right, I'm going to unmute everybody here. All right, everybody's unmuted. If you're in a loud spot, please feel free to remute. Questions about what we just went over? I'm a new mom, so I'm praying we are not in lockdown. Congratulations on that, Crystal. I have 4 kids. I'm praying that lockdown ends because I don't like my kids anymore. So I saw a funny video or something yesterday on social media. It said first day of school when kids are allowed to leave the house again, and it had an SUV pulling up, and then the parents were literally throwing the kids out of the car and just winging their backpacks onto the school lawn and then screeching away as fast as they could. It was awesome. So like, get out of my car and go back to school. All right, so questions about the events. Who's got questions that we can answer for you? Mute that one. It was a little loud. There we go. Much quieter. No questions? Man, this is a quiet group. I said that when I got on first thing this morning. I was like, you guys have really, really good Zoom etiquette. It might be a little bit too much good Zoom etiquette right now.
Dan?
Yes, Margaret?
No, this is Angela.
Oh, well, you signed in with Margaret's link. Okay, Angela, sorry.
That brunch idea is a great idea. I did a brunch a couple of Sundays ago. Didn't think about this, what you're talking about, Mother's Day, but that could be a really good tool. That it was really good. We did. I had all the ladies to sign in, and I sent a little invite to them and let them know that I had initially planned on having a chef to set up the brunch for them, but the chef said he could not come to their house because of the COVID-19. So they all laughed about that, and they thought it was a great idea. So that's a really good idea on the taking the tea bags or the brunch to somebody's home and then all get together that way.
Tea bags are pretty inexpensive, right? I think a bag of tea is going to end up costing you like 14 cents.
Yeah.
So it depends. If you're going to have like 40 people attending, that might be more economical. If you're going to only have eight other women attending, that might be cool to spend the $3.49 on the little champagne flutes. Becomes a budget issue, right?
Yeah.
At some point. So, but now think about that in other things. Think of if you take that out to other activities. If you would have had Easter, right? You could have delivered 12 Easter eggs, those little plastic ones. 12 Easter eggs would cost you about $1 to a bunch of houses that they could do their own Easter egg hunts. And we have Memorial Day coming up, right? Yeah. So what could you do for Memorial? It's like always think about now again, you guys should be well out by Memorial Day is what I'm hearing. But if we ever go back in again, you guys can jump right on this, right? If we go back into this thing in January, okay, what holidays are we having in January, beginning of February? Valentine's Day will be right after, right? You guys can jump right in with the ideas, at least now that you're kind of thinking in that paradigm. Good job. Figuring out how to keep going with it. All right. Who else has a question? And somebody said, thanks for sharing, and thank you to Cobb. That's right, everybody. So Cobb is the one who set this up. I don't know what associations you all belong to. I know you guys are all a little bit spread out in Georgia. But Cobb ended up setting this up and then came to me and said, hey, can we open this up to everybody? So we did what we needed to do to open it up to everybody. And so, yes, definitely. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Cobb, for not being stingy with this. And I guess you'd say taking care of the budget for it, right? I thank you for that too. Taking care of the budget for it, for everybody else to attend. That's awesome. All right. Another great idea is to start a neighborhood free cycle. I love that because I don't have any idea what it means. And when I don't have any idea what it means, it's like, oh, that's new stuff. Let me hear it. So Amber, if you're still on, if you can tell me what a free cycle is, that would be awesome. Please share you can either unmute yourself.
And can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay, great. In case my kids start screaming, I will mute again. But basically, I learned about it first in the East Cobb area in Marietta, and we have East Cobb Moms Free Cycle. And so I'm actually I just moved actually during this whole coronavirus epidemic. I was moving. And so I moved into a new neighborhood, joined the neighborhood Facebook page, and they said it's not real active, but a lot of people said, oh, I'd love for this page to be active again. So basically what you do is, instead of having a yard sale, you have those items you want to donate, but you really don't feel like loading them in the car. You take pictures of them, you post them, you say, hey, other moms, I've got these great kids' clothes that they've grown out of, or these toys, or these dishes, or whatever, and people will just come pick them up out of your driveway. And it's a great way to create more of a sense of community and sharing and kind of recycling your items for free.
Awesome. That makes so much more sense now, because I was thinking like bicycles, and I was like, how do you do that? So thank you for sharing. That's a really good idea, right?
You're welcome.
Mark Morgan had asked, yes, Mark, this is being recorded and it will be disseminated. So you will be getting a recording of it. If you came on late, or if you had internet issues, or if you just got distracted and had to go hang out and do something with your kids real quick, or if they're on distant learning and you came back and you're like, oh, what did I miss? So you will get a recording of it. All right, what else? What other questions do we have? Looking through the list here of names, see if I recognize any. One or two. All right, what else, everybody? This is it. What's that? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Well, I've enjoyed doing these for you guys and gals. Maybe one of these days when lockdown is over and I'm allowed to get on an airplane again, I will find myself in the great state of Georgia, and can meet some of you in real life doing something. Maybe I'll be at a Georgia Association of Realtors event, or who knows what, someday live and in person. And if I happen to ever be there and you're there, it's a lot harder for me to recognize all of your faces on here. I'm scrolling through the screen that is probably for you to recognize mine. But make sure you come up and say hello. Let me know that you were on one of these Cobb shared recordings during COVID when this is all going on. I can't wait to be able to be back with actual live audiences, and speaking to people and shaking hands. And I'm not even a hugger. Like I'm not a hugger. You know, people are like huggers. I'm not a hugger. But man, I'll hug. I just want to be back with people again. So this is it, everybody. I really appreciate you guys being on here. The recording will go out. This is your last chance. Any other questions? If you have any questions after the last chance, like I said, you can always reach out to me via social media or email me. You know, I'm pretty good at getting them answered, so long as you don't need me to write like War and Peace as my answer. But live and in person, any questions about what we went over or anything else that I've covered in the first two topics that you maybe want to dig into real quick, now's a great chance for that. No. How about you, Barry? Any parting words?
Well, Dan, thank you so much for not only for the past two webinars, but this one as well, in particular with respect to injecting some fun into what we're doing now, especially as we, shelter in place, what have you. And it builds into, of course, building the businesses of our realtor members. That's really helpful and a great insight. So thank you so much for all you've done. We're delighted to be able to provide this not only to our CAR members, but to Georgia Association of Realtors members across the state. And thanks for making that happen.
And everybody, parting words for me, I guess, is this. I feel very certain this will come back, unfortunately. Maybe not to the exact degree. Maybe next time we can get ahead of this in January by everybody just masking up ahead of time. I don't know. But this virus isn't done, I don't think, right? And so these are tools that you all want to learn, just because moving forward in this world, unless you plan on retiring in the next 2 or 3 years, these are tools that might be needed not only for this sort of thing, but for something else as well. And so they are important tools to learn. But the good news is, I think we're going to be out of this thing, back to the new normal come July. Football season's going to start on time. And, the economy has done one of these. Okay. And we've got, what is the number? Last number I heard is probably going to hit about 18% unemployment within the next 2 weeks. That's huge. But I will tell you, selfishly, for real estate agents, very little of that 18% were the people who are going to be buying and selling homes from you guys in the next year, right? And when this market turns, we're going to start to see this going on. And people who were in industries that had the ability to be online and work remote, their income is still there. Their savings are still there. Their savings have grown, as a matter of fact, because they can't spend money on anything or travel or waste it. And I think I think that our pool of buyers has not shrunk as dramatically as the nation's unemployment rate has. Unfortunately, the people who are getting hit the hardest are the people who could least afford to get hit. And it's a lot of service workers, and it's a lot of people in the service industries and hotels and restaurants. And they're the people who couldn't afford to get hit the most as it was. And unfortunately, they're getting hit the hardest. But the people who had work still had it through this whole thing, and they're still going to have it. And so we are fortunate in our industry that our buyer pool, our client pool, has not been affected as the most. That's good for your business, right? If you're looking for a silver lining, it's good for your business. And when we come out of this thing, we're going to come out fast. And if you've been working and you've been disciplined, and if you're still pedaling, it's going to be so much easier to just speed up than it is to, if you were stopped for the last 30, 60 days, to all of a sudden get back on the bike and try to get that first wheel going and try to get a little bit of speed. If you've been working, you're going to be ahead of the competition. And being on things like this show that you are one of those who've been working and have been pedaling. And it's going to be so easy for you to just switch gears, speed it up a little bit, and just torch the competition, I think. So, and the economy is going to be bad and it's going to be messed up, and we're going to have to deal with that. But I do believe, weirdly enough, our industry is a little bit more insulated than others. And that's good for you. I want you to understand that it's good for you as real estate professionals, that you have an opportunity to shine when the new norm happens coming here real soon in the next month or two. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being on. I appreciate it. If you ever need anything, you know how to get a hold of me. Barry, I'll send a recording of this out to you here shortly.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Best to you.
You too.